to now part 2 of friction. Part 2 of friction. So here we're going to talk about two scenarios. The first one is for pull, the second one is what? For push. So let's start with the push. Let's start with the push. So for example, we have this box here of mass 20 kg. 20 kg here. And we are given the coefficient of friction, maybe kinetic friction is equal to 0.2. And this person now wants to push this box here. Wants to push it along this horizontal flow here. Wants to push it. Instead of pushing it here, just direct here. And this person just decides to push it at an angle. Maybe just decide to push it at an angle here. And this angle here, let's say the angle is 20 degrees. So here automatically here we have what we call the normal force, and here we have what? The weight, which is the mass multiplied by what? By gravity. Then here, because you want to push it in this direction, the frictional force will be opposing. So meaning the frictional force will face this direction here. So meaning this is the frictional force here. So, and let's say this is force P. This force P here. When the question comes here, they say find force P. This is a question now. Find force P. So when you answer such questions here, first you resolve the components here. Because this force here, we are pushing at an angle. The moment you see an angle, you know that that effort has got the vertical and the horizontal component. So the push has got the vertical and the horizontal component. So in this case, it's more like someone is pushing like this. It's more like he's forcing it down. He's pushing like this, so it's forcing down. So meaning a vertical component will be going down. Because the power is more like the power is going down. And the other horizontal component will go towards the push. So the other one will face this direction. So the first one will be this vertical component. Because it's more like you are forcing it to go down. So the vertical component will go down and the other one will go towards the push. And here, the side opposed to the angle is always sine. It doesn't matter if it is in the vertical or horizontal. As long as it is opposed to the angle is sine. So meaning this side here will be P sine, this is P, let's say to be P sine 20. And automatically this one which is adjacent will be P cos 20. So now, this is the most important thing here. Resolving the components here. This is the most important thing. So from there, you can now bring your formula. So we say the frictional force is equal to the coefficient of friction, in this case kinetic friction, multiplied by the what? By the normal force. But according to me, if you want to solve this question without any struggle, always make the coefficient of friction the subject of formula. So in this case, let's make the coefficient of friction the subject of formula. So say over n over n. So meaning this n and this n will go. So say the coefficient of kinetic friction equals to the frictional force divided by the what? By the normal force. So the frictional force divided by the normal force. So here, let's bring it here. So say the coefficient of kinetic friction is equal to the frictional force divided by the what? By the normal force. But in this case, we are given the coefficient of kinetic friction. So the coefficient of kinetic friction is 0.2, B equal to the frictional force over the what? The normal force. So meaning here, we have to make an equation for frictional force and an equation for what? For normal force. How do you make the equation for frictional force? So frictional force here, you can see that frictional force is in the horizontal. So meaning you div all the forces in the horizontal. And in this case, you can see that we only have two forces in the horizontal, like this frictional force and P cos 20. Because we only have two forces in the horizontal, and these forces, they are facing a different direction. Just know that these two forces, they are equal to each other. Because we only have two forces in the horizontal, and these two forces, they are facing a different direction. Just know that they are equal to each other. How are they equal to each other? So you can see that this P cos 20 is facing toward the positive x direction. If we bring in x y plane here. This is y, this is what? X. X, y. So here y is negative, y positive, x is negative here, x is positive. So you can see that this p cos 20 is pointing towards the positive direction, and this frictional force is pointing towards the negative direction. So this is the frictional force here. It's the frictional force, and this is p cos 20 here. So when we make an equation here, it will be p cos 20 minus this one pointing the negative direction minus the frictional force is equal to what? To 0. So here, we want to make the frictional force the subject of formula. So meaning we can take the frictional force to the other direction. It will be p cos 20 is equal to the frictional force. So I've seen that these forces are equal to each other. So when you just have two forces in the horizontal or in the vertical, just two forces and they are facing the different direction, just know that they are equal to each other. So in this case, the frictional force equals to p cos 20. So in this case, we say 0.2 is equals to p cos 20 over the normal force. So now the next thing we need to do is to find an equation for the normal force. To find an equation for the normal force. How do you make an equation for the normal force? How do you make an equation for the normal force? So now here, you can check here. You can see that the normal force is in the vertical. So meaning to make an equation for the normal force, you need to give all the forces in the vertical. All the forces in the vertical. So in this case, you have this force, and this force, they are all in the vertical. And what do you do here? The forces facing the same direction, you add them, then they will equal to the other force facing the other direction. It doesn't matter if they are pointing towards the negative y direction. As long as they are facing the same direction, you add them, then they will be equal to the other forces facing the other direction. So in this case, you can see that p sine 20 plus the weight, they are pointing the same direction. So we need to add them. Then they will be equal to the force facing the other direction, which is the what? The normal force. So how do you make the equation for the normal force? So in this case, it will be p sine 20. It will be p sine 20 plus the weight. So in this case, we know that the weight equals to mass times gravity, which is 20 multiplied by 9.81. 20 multiplied by 9.81, which is equals to 196. So the weight is 196.2. 196.2 is equal to what? Is equal to the force facing the other direction, which is the what? The normal force. So here what we have done is, these forces that are facing the same direction, this p sine 20 and the weight, we have added them, then they are equal to the other force facing the other direction. So meaning the equation for the normal force is this one. So where is the normal force, we put this equation here. So it will be p sine 20 plus 196.2. Yes. Then from here, you just do cross multiplication. So you cross multiply here. Over 1, you can cross multiply, then it will be p cos 20 being equal to 0.2 multiplied by p sine 20 plus 196.2. So here you can practice this. What is cos 20? Cos 20 is 0.939693. P. B equal to what is 0.2 multiplied by sine 20? 0.2 multiplied by sine 20, which is equal to 0.0684 plus what is 0.2 multiplied by 196.2? 0.2 multiplied by 196.2, which is equal to 39.24. So from here you can group the right terms. So this is P here. So this one is P to come to this other side. So it will be 0.939693 P minus, because this is positive, when it comes this side it will be negative, 0.0684 0.84 p, b equal to 39.24. So in this case, you can subtract here to be 0.939693, 0.939693 minus 0.0684, which is equal to 0.87 p, b equal to 39.24 over 0.87 over 0.87. So over, you cancel this one, will be p is equals to 39.24 divided by 0.87. So the answer here is 45 newtons. So we have found for speed.